name is Jessica Gourdet. I am 28 years old and I'm a management consultant with Accenture. And so, just a little bit about me, my academic background. I went to Spelman College here in Atlanta. It's an all women's, historically Black college. And I studied psychology as my major and then minored in Spanish. And then I graduated in 2013. So after that, I spent a year abroad. I taught English in China. I was an English teacher in northeastern China for about a year. So that was quite an adventure. And so after that, I came back to the States and I started to work on digital social media marketing through an internship that I found online. And later on, I found that I had a knack for marketing. These were primarily with small businesses that needed assistance. And after doing that, well, while I was doing that, I ended up getting into a program at Duke University, Fuqua School of Business, where I went for a 10-month program and I got my Master of Management Studies, which is kind of like, it's sort of like an MBA for those who don't have the qualifications for an MBA, since I didn't have the professional experience at the time. So I was able to learn a lot. You take a lot of the core MBA classes and a few of the electives. And from there, I was recruited to work for Accenture based off my experience that I've had abroad with people and with marketing and social media. I fit the role to like become a management consultant. So that's where I was recruited, and I've been working for them for about 3 years now.
Jessica, what is management consulting according to you?
So, according to me, management consulting is really helping solve a problem and taking on the tasks that lead up to the final solution. So, management consultants, we are the ones that, come in when a business is having a problem or they need some sense of innovation or they're looking to start a project. And what we do is we lay out all of the steps, we lay out the potential risks, and we lay out the timeline. And then a few of us will perform the work while a few of us will manage the work. And that's where you get the management consultant part from.
Got it. So what's your typical day as a management consultant?
Okay, so my typical day as a management consultant, it differs based on whether or not I am on a local project or I am on a traveling project. I was on a traveling project, so I can give you that because that's the most interesting day. So it typically starts on a Monday. I am up by 4:30. I get ready, get dressed, and I head in an Uber or a car at 5:30 to catch my 7:25 flight. And then I head out to the client site. So the client that I've been working on is in Washington, D.C. area. So I'll head out there. And the second I land, I hop in a rental car and then I drive to the client site. And I usually make it there by about 9:30, 10 o'clock latest. So immediately upon getting there, I normally start a meeting. I usually have a 10 o'clock meeting, an 11 o'clock meeting, and this is when I'm client facing. So since I'm at the client site, we'll probably sit in a big conference room or we'll join via Skype. So we'll go through our meetings and we'll discuss what work needs to get completed for the day and for the week. After that, we'll have lunch, which typically your whole team sits together and have lunch. And then afterwards, I'm expected, I usually work from 1 to 5 p.m. Depending on the deadline and the rigor of the work, we probably will go until 6 or 7. And then we'll all head to dinner together, or I might get dinner at the hotel. Just depends how I feel. On a Monday, you're usually exhausted. Jet lag is very real. So, and then I'll head to the hotel, check in, eat dinner, and then I'll usually hit the gym because the gym helps you keep energized and maintain balance. So I'll hit the gym and then I'll spend some time at the end of the day preparing for the next morning, or I'll watch a few movies. And I try to be in bed sleeping by 11 so I can wake up for the next day. So
Great, awesome. So I assume like you are traveling almost every other week. So how's it traveling as a consultant? Is it tiring? Is it fun? What's it according to you?
So as a consultant, traveling is well, it's kind of double-edged sword. On one way, it is fun because you get to travel. Like if you are someone who doesn't mind planes, who doesn't mind driving and sleeping in hotels, it's not that bad. um Also, if you're young like I am and you don't really have much of a commitment, it makes it easier. So I find traveling fun. And what they do is most of them have some sort of flexible traveling. So what that is that twice in the month, instead of going home, you can use the amount of the ticket to go home, to go somewhere else. So for me, the ticket from DC back here to Atlanta is a few $100s. So I can use that to go maybe to Mexico. I went to Canada. I'll go to New York. You can go down to pretty much anywhere because it's usually a good amount of money that you get to spend. So that is very helpful because it helps take your mind off of all the work and you get to visit new places. I would say on the downside though, traveling really does wear out the body. Jet lag is real because you are literally on a minimum of 2 flights every week. So the first week and actually the first month is very hard because you're just tired. You're not used to being up at 4:30 and you don't get to nap. You're up at 4:30 and you go straight to the client site and you're working until about 8, 9 p.m. So it does get tiring, especially when your flight is delayed. Maybe there's some like crazy thunderstorm and the airport has to shut down and you end up having to spend the night. That's happened to me. So um I would say if you are young, free spirited, and you like to travel and you want to do fun things and you want to visit other cities, traveling can be very fun. But just you got to find your balance because you get really, really tired. So.
Hmm. Sika, my next question is, so what are the roles and responsibilities of a management consultant? For example, if I talk about technology consulting, we had to interview our client to get the information, and then we had to interact with our development team, make them understand what needs to be built, what's not required, and then we prepare the whole technology solution and present it to the client. So what exactly involves as the roles and responsibilities of a management consultant?
So that's actually kind of similar to what you just described, except it just kind of depends on what industry you're working in. So I am a commercial management consultant, and the other that you can do is federal, where you actually like work for government and high profile clients where you have to like do a background check. That's another level of consulting. And as you mentioned, technology consulting, you're working on a tech case. I worked on a tech case and I worked on a commercial case where I was on in the corporate finance department, and I was working on an acquisition. So my job was directly related to making sure all of the data from the target company translated over correctly to the acquirer. And so as that is, I guess the gist of what my job includes is that I had to work with the strategy team. So the people that come up with the solution, or the people that work directly on the solution, I would have to work with them to make sure I understand what's going on. So that's one thing. As a management consultant, you have to be knowledgeable about the entire project and you have to be knowledgeable about where you fit in. Um, Secondly, you have to make sure that you are open to receiving criticism because you have to build a lot of things. You're building tons of PowerPoints. You're writing notes down. You're making legible copies of those notes, the meeting minutes. You're preparing meetings. So you're scheduling the meetings. You're attending the meetings. You'll probably lead. I've had to lead meetings every week. That's what I usually have done. You pretty much have to be very flexible with your personality and whatnot, because there are some people that prefer to just kind of work by themselves and don't really like to be micromanaged. And then there are some people who work in big groups and you're constantly being faced with the client. So another role would be listening to the needs and to the risks and what can be done to improve the work that you're doing. It really just all depends on the client. And last but not least, after working with the people who have the solution, after working on the solution, after preparing the solution, you have to deliver the solution. And not only do you have to deliver that, you have to be open to the feedback from the client and be ready to change anything at any given moment. So pretty much your roles are whatever the difficulty, the problem is, and whatever the solution is and how to get there, I would say.